All right, boys, episode 13. The Polish kid, fresh off a track meet, joining us.
Apparently.
Hey,
it's part of the Jamaican bobsled team.
Hey,
keep it fresh.
With this weather, I'm trying to be in that Jamaican mindset.
It was cold today. I'm wearing sweatpants.
It was a little chillier than yesterday.
I lost the battle. I lost the battle with the sun yesterday. We tore out the deck, and
oh, did you lose the same battle I did?
It looks like I'm still wearing a cutoff, except the sleeves are red now.
Oh, see, I went full tank top yesterday. My shoulders and neck are killing me.
Yeah, my neck's bad.
Top of my head got it. Oh.
So today we've got sports starting up, hopefully soon. We've got some signings in football. We have the NCAA releasing some new rules, which we'll dig deep into. And Jordan is still a savage after episodes 5 and 6. So where do you guys want to start? Because I got some pages.
First, rest in peace to Don Shula.
I did hear that today. Don Shula died. He was like, I didn't realize he's that old, but
yeah,
he's been around for a while.
What, 33 years in the NFL, only 2 losing seasons? It's pretty incredible.
It's not bad.
Nope.
I mean, while we're on the topic of fun facts, 2 presidents have been impeached since the last time the Lions won their division, so we can start there.
Okay.
I got nothing for that.
Apparently he was bored today.
Did a little research. It just kind of
research on the Lions records.
Yeah, it just kind of came across. Yeah, someone tweeted it for no reason. Actually, it might have been in a Pat McAfee chat or something like that. And then I looked it up. So let's start with the NCAA rules, since we're here on top of my page. So if you haven't heard, NCAA, they call it the NIL, name and likeness. It's basically you can make money off your name, your identity, and your likeness, or whatever, your skills. So I'll just a quick overview, and just kind of start with California. California put out legislation for the state of California that student athletes could profit from name, image. That's what the I's for. Likeness. And the current Division I rule is you cannot promote or endorse a commercial or a product. Is the current rule.
Okay.
And there's been some obviously issues with this. Like people have done it or been accused of it and didn't get away with it. So the new rules say they can now do this, and here's how they can get paid. They can do third-party endorsements. They can promote a product or service on a TV or in radio and ads. They can do their own work or business, digital content, whether it be YouTube, streaming, ads, utilization of their, talent, lessons, music, art. So like, let's say they do they're great at the guitar and they start doing guitar lessons. Just for example, that's how I took it. They could give guitar lessons. They could take money, and someone can't say, well, you only went to him because he was a popular athlete. They can do autographs and meet and greets, and there's also no cap on the earnings. Where there are restrictions still is you can't use the logos or trademarks from the school or conference you're in. The school cannot make payments on behalf, so you can't do a meet and greet probably at your school, and the school pays you. So that can't be done. You can't exchange revenue or money there. And schools cannot arrange your meetings or endorsements for whatever you're doing.
Okay.
And then I also heard they cannot, if you're a basketball player, you can't sign shoe deals. And there's still some gray areas as to why. My theory is you can't sign shoe deal because schools sign,
right?
Like Duke's with Nike.
Yeah.
You're not going to sign a deal with, you're going to Duke. So they're still going to own some of that. Nike pays a lot of money.
So do they, I guess the first thing I think of with this whole situation is like jersey sales, for example. So let's say Trevor Lawrence, Clemson quarterback, this fall, Clemson sells $100,000 worth of his jerseys, can he now get a percentage of that because his name is on the back of it?
I didn't read that today. I believe they can, but the question is there that you just brought up is, what if Clemson sells them?
Right.
Like you go to the bookstore and you buy a Trevor Lawrence jersey. That's a great question.
I mean, when
Yeah.
NIL that you just said with N name being the first one,
Yep.
you're selling a jersey with his name on it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think of.
Well, and think about all even guys that start linemen. They're not going to have jerseys in the stores.
No.
So it's going to be those top 4 or 5 guys on the team.
Yeah.
So they're all not going to have the.
Agreed.
Chance.
That's just college.
I mean, you can make the same argument about all of that stuff. They're not going to go to a no-name offensive lineman to, push Gatorade or something either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't punish the guys like Trevor Lawrence because of that.
Right. Yeah, because I even saw.
Soda.
I even saw something. Could they bring back NCAA football for video games and things like that? But those guys aren't.
The reason they got rid of that was they never used name or likeness. You knew who it was. I remember playing March Madness '99 with Steve Francis. I knew it was Steve Francis. All right.
Yeah. But they're not. I heard they're not going to bring it back.
That sucks.
The other thing with that would be difficult is one sale of the game has every college player in it. So then do you give every single college player a percentage of that? I don't see how that would work out.
Everybody get like a half a penny per.
Yeah.
Well, it would just have to work the same way the NFL or MLB does. They buy rights to the licensing, basically. I don't know. There's some legalities there.
Yeah.
They also said that the name, image, likeness cannot be disguised as a form of pay for play. So they thought of that. Other restrictions on marketing agents and financial advisors. So the big one to me that stands out is, to me, this is them getting with the times. First of all, I'm going to put this out there. Never been a big fan of the NCAA. I think the NCAA is one of the most two-faced, corrupt organizations in sports, right next to the USGA. So the big one is the social media. They can do, the TV ad. They can do YouTube streaming. They can do, if they advertise someone on Instagram. That's just today. That's how things work. And YouTube is extremely common with people. And I mean, I have a great example here. We could talk about it a little bit. Is there was a kid 2 years ago. He went to Central Florida. His name was Donald Della Hay. He goes by the YouTube name of Destroying. He was a kicker for Central Florida. I don't know if you guys heard the story.
Yep.
They basically approached him 2 years ago, the NCAA, and said, delete your. He was starting to get big. He was growing. And they said, delete your YouTube channel or you're going to lose your scholarship. He was on scholarship. So he had to make the choice. And when he basically informed the NCAA, like, I don't want to delete my YouTube channel. I've put some effort into this, creativity, setting myself up for a possible future when I get out of college in a couple of years. Yeah. They basically said, all right, well, you're not on the football team. They revoked his scholarship, which in turn basically removed him from school, and they booted him off campus within like 24 hours. Like, get your stuff and get out. And so he had, lost his scholarship. He got booted mid-semester. I mean, his scholarship covered room and board, so he was gone. Like, he just like, I guess I'm out of here. And now he's actually gotten bigger, and he's gotten bigger now. But I'm sure that he's looking back on this, like, where was this 2 years ago? So,
yeah. Yeah, there's actually a kid that I follow on YouTube that he had I think, Division II golf scholarship, and his YouTube page at the time had probably like 75,000 subscribers or so.
I'll take it.
And they told him, hey, if you still want to play golf, you have to get rid of your YouTube page. I'm trying to find it right now. So he chose not to go to college for golf. He just went to his local community college. And I think he's at like 215,000 subscribers now. And he's doing videos all over the place. I'm trying to. You got
crazy,
something else?
like,
go ahead and I'll find it.
I mean, a YouTube channel is an example where you're not taking money out of the NCAA's pocket by doing that.
No.
The jersey sale example I gave, you could make the argument that you're taking a percentage away from them. Running your own YouTube channel doesn't take any money away from the NCAA.
But to them, They feel like you're robbing them because you're making money.
Yeah.
That's where the NCAA to me is just like it's a bullshit organization.
It's dumb.
He's
And
at 200,000 subscribers right now.
and I'm just going to jump to it real quick, but that's really similar to Lucy Lee. Do you remember this a year ago? 16-year-old amateur golfer.
Yeah.
Did the commercial for Apple.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, you can't do that because of your likeness. So we're going to remove your amateur status." And my rebuttal to that quickly was, "What about Steph Curry and Tony Romo? You allow them to play in tournaments on, the Korn Ferry Tour or whatever, but they do commercials. They do commercials for Corona, sponsored by Under Armour or whoever. How's that any different?"
It's you're telling me Curry's not wearing Under Armour out
exactly
as he's playing?
Right. He's doing something that he's making money off his name or likeness.
Yeah. But the difference there is she's probably still trying to go to college or something eventually. Steph Curry doesn't care about his amateur status.
Right.
Going back to college.
But the USGA telling her we're going to strip your amateur status. Where he plays in a tournament, they're like, well, you can still be an amateur. Because they're going to make money off that. They're going to get views. They're going to get ticket sales. Yeah. So they turn the blind eye to it. So that's the other reason I don't like the USGA. I like this rule. I don't know about you guys. I think it's great for the kids. I think it allows them to be creative if they want to do YouTube and they want to stream on the side. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I personally think that the colleges don't really take care of their student athletes. I just don't. I mean, they have their perks. If you go to a big school and you got to play on a great team, yeah, they take, it's good. Wasn't it Kemba Walker came out one year and said, I go to bed every night hungry when he was at UConn?
I think those guys are all getting fed. They're getting a $100,000 education if they go to class. That's the other issue with it, right? They're getting the education, but they're not. If they're not going to class, then that's their own fault. They're trying to, especially the kids that aren't gonna make it in professionally. You're getting a free education to move on after college, and if you choose not to go to class, then that's your problem, right?
So I agree with that, but here's where I disagree with it. That has always been the rebuttal that these kids they shouldn't get paid to get an education. So I looked up some stats today, some numbers. I went with LSU and I went with Clemson. In-state tuition for Clemson for a semester is $11,950. Out of state is $28,627. Clemson in-state is $15,374. Out of state is $37,128. That's for a semester. That is only for a semester. Mm-hmm. Last year, for the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Cotton Bowl, and National Championship, the NCAA paid back to colleges $549 million because they made money off the bowl games. They paid another $99 million to the teams playing in the 33 other bowl games. So my rebuttal to that is a college could say, yeah, this is how much it costs. And someone could say, well, we don't need to pay you because you're getting an education out of this. It's not a level playing field. The amount of money some of these colleges make off these kids is astronomical compared to, and for a season, they're there for a year. In some cases for basketball, 3 years. So even if these kids turn around, you say, okay, our education is worth this much, and you add it up for 3 years, and you turn around and look at the money they made off these kids, it's astronomical. It's crazy. That's the only reason I don't agree with it. I understand that there's a value, there's an unspoken value to an education. There is. Because if you don't become a professional athlete and you go on, you play a sport, then yeah, that education's got a lot of value. But in the short term, the amount of money compared to what that education cost.
Yeah. And that argument also makes the assumption that every student athlete is on a full scholarship too.
Right. Yeah.
Which they're definitely not.
They're not. Right.
Right.
So think about how many kids playing for LSU or Clemson this year, like you said, are not on scholarship. Yeah. There's seniors on that team that when they're done, they're going to go on. They're going to be whatever in the business world. Yeah. They're all part of that team that made a lot of money for that school. That's my only hang up with it, is there's a lot of money changing hands for the NCAA to the colleges to make sure they're taken care of. Those colleges, they dump it back into facilities and stuff like that, but they're not spending that much money on facilities.
No.
Yeah. I think obviously the NCAA is definitely making money off them. And obviously a lot of bigger schools, I'll say. I think about obviously being a Carolina fan. sponsored by Jordan. That basketball team, I remember a kid a couple of years ago after he graduated took a picture of his closet, and he had like 65 pairs of Jordans that he got from just his 4 years there.
Yeah.
They're getting the clothes and everything else, and they're probably not wearing nothing but whatever is given to them. The bigger schools, obviously.
Right.
Then you got to think about obviously all the students, that are track and field. Unless you're at Oregon or those big schools, you're not getting noticed by anything else.
And Oregon gets it because Nike's headquarters are right there,
right
in town.
I think it'll be interesting how it all works out once it doesn't go in effect this year, right? It's 2021, correct?
I actually think they still have to vote on it. I think it's been okay, but it's got to go to like another step. I think they've just kind of said they assumed it's going to get voted in. It's kind of hard to argue at this point. I mean, and we just got to get with the times.
It'd be interesting if a couple. I obviously don't know all the legality behind it, but some of those kids that just graduated in the past 5 years, are they going to try to go back and try to get money? I don't know.
No,
there's no way you can do that.
I wouldn't think
tie
so,
it up in court for years.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't even get anything out of it. So
no.
I'm interested in how it all works out.
So do you want me to go savage mode like I told you I was going to?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So I haven't really spoken about this openly. It's kind of hush-hush. Just kind of never really talked about it. I played college golf here, as you both know, here locally. That golf team was started from an endowment from a family that was alumni of the college. They gave that college $300,000 and said, we'll give you the money. Half of it has to go towards starting a golf team. And that was the deal. Because we were supposed to be a club team only, but they said, okay, we're going to get this money. We're going to make sure you guys are actually part of, the NCAA. You're going to play in the sanctioned tournaments. We went to regionals, went to nationals. We did all that. So that money was part of a deal. And it was kind of like a really quick, somebody got in contact. We had a meeting with the president of the college. The president turned around to one of his friends who was alumni and said, yeah, I'll donate the money. But here's the deal. So we played 1 year. I probably still somewhere have the old emails and an old Yahoo account that went back and forth. This was no fault of the coaches. Coaches argued tooth and nail for the kids. But the person in control of the money and where it was going and allocated was the same person in charge of the softball team and the basketball team and I think there was one of the volleyball team, all women's teams. Same person that showed up when we were at tournaments. If they were 2-day tournaments, we're on the road. She showed up at regionals and we had a different colored shirt on. We're all wearing the same color, just not the one that they bought for us. They bought us one shirt. And when they showed up and we weren't wearing red, she threw a fit and cornered our coach and kind of chewed him out. And he said, you bought him one shirt. She's like, well, they only need one shirt. They can get it washed. And the rebuttal to that was, well, the softball team has 5 different uniforms, and they did. And then a couple years down the road, I find out that all that money is dried up. That money's gone. And they said, oh, the golf team is no more because you're out of money. And it's never been spoken about. No one's ever addressed it. No one's ever cornered this person or challenged where did that money go. And to me, I mean, they really didn't take care of us as student athletes. They didn't. We got screwed out of credits. You're supposed to get credits for playing, like actual college credits. We never got it because she forgot to turn into papers. So they never filed the paperwork. We never got credit. Screwed kids over that transferred after that year. They were supposed to supply me personally, would make sure I had enough golf balls when I went to nationals. That never happened. To this day, they still owe me a dozen of Pro V1, just so you both know. I'll never get it, but that never happened. And I never pursued it because I knew I wasn't going to be staying at the college. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to go to nationals and I'm done playing golf here. I'm probably done with college. So I'm like, I don't care. A certain ball company, I won't mention names, Titleist, hooked me up with plenty of golf balls to make sure, more than I needed to go to nationals. And it was clearly a violation of NCAA rules, and I really don't care because I was gone after that. But the point is, there's a lot of money there. And I feel like there's people at colleges that are corrupt. Where does this money go? not just here locally, but like what these big colleges, like $549 million. Yep. Where does it go?
Yeah, it's going into somebody's pockets.
Right.
That's more than enough money to, going back to the numbers you said about LSU and Clemson, the football programs and whatnot, bringing in those numbers. That's enough money to not charge any students tuition.
Yeah.
If they're raking in hundreds of millions of dollars.
Just from the sports.
Yeah.
That's probably just football.
Just
I would say, that's football.
Yeah.
So there's my anger. I've just never been a fan of the NCAA, and I just feel like there's a lot of just shady shit that goes on. So I digress. You guys want to move on? You got something to say? All right. Sports starting back up.
Hopefully.
Well, we got
confirmed.
Yeah, we got UFC this weekend.
We do.
We got UFC starting up, and there's 3 fights this month. There's this weekend, and there's 2 more the rest of the month. We have NASCAR May 17th. They're starting up at Darlington.
Yep.
And there's actually going to be 7 races in May. There's going to be between a total of 7 races with Truck, Cup, and Xfinity Series. So, excuse me. Bets are back on, boys. We're betting on racing.
Sounds good.
I got the bowl full of names over there, so it's back on.
Oh, boy.
BJ Tour in June with no fans. And about 20 minutes before we went on air, breaking news. Baseball, June 10th, starting spring training 2. July 1st opening day, and they're going to play at their home stadiums. That's what I read.
That's confirmed.
That's what I read per my sources.
No fans? Is that what you said?
They didn't say no
They didn't
fans.
say.
They're playing in home stadiums. So maybe we're on our way back. I need
I
it.
think they were always going to play in their home stadiums, right? It was just the postseason they were worried about, correct?
No.
Oh, there was
Oh,
conversation
that's
about
right. That's right. There was a conversation about like Florida, Texas, Arizona, right?
it was all Arizona, wasn't it?
So, yeah. So that's what I have written down. So that's why I was wondering if that's confirmed or not, because the last most likely scenario from what I read on The Athletic was that they were going to move all teams to the Phoenix area. And so the Phoenix area has the largest concentration, I guess, of spring training ballparks. So they have 10 spring training facilities, plus you have Chase Field where the Diamondbacks play. And then it said there were a couple other smaller minor league facilities there, which it doesn't really matter if the facility's smaller because they were going to go with no fans anyways. So they had, that's 11 plus whatever minor league facilities were there where they could play. And they were basically going to move all the teams out there. And they said they had enough hotels in the Phoenix area to keep the teams quarantined and then basically start the season with everybody in the Phoenix area. This kid's just staring at his shoes the whole episode.
You wearing porn? You watching porn?
Go look at my phone here.
And I heard NBA, possibly, the rumor is Disney World? Disneyland, Disney World?
So we were talking before we came on that I was trying to do some research on these, new startups or how to restart these seasons. And everything you searched came up with a different proposal.
Yep.
The one that I found most interesting, I guess, for the NBA was the MGM hotel group, whatever their formal name is, out in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Was pitching the idea to have the NBA have all teams go to Las Vegas. And this group owns, the main one was the Mandalay Bay, which I'll come back to in just a second, but they also own the Four Seasons, Delano Hotel, and the Luxor. Mandalay Bay alone has 4,700 rooms.
Yep.
And the Mandalay Bay Convention Center, obviously hooked to Mandalay Bay, has enough room to build 24 basketball courts inside the convention center.
Really?
So their pitch was those 4 hotels, you can house the players, the coaches, the players' family, which was a big one because baseball was the opposite. It was just the players.
They didn't want to go and leave their families, I heard.
So Mandalay Bay would have room for players' family, all the team staff, and then the Luxor alone would be MGM employees that are there to cook food, serve the players. And then that convention center with the 24 courts They would all be regulation enough to have both games and practices there.
There's also a compound in Vegas. There's a NBA holds a compound. I hate to do some summer league stuff there. A lot of guys who are either just drafted, non-drafted, they go out there and practice. Sean did an internship there. Shout out Tayshawn, who watches our podcast religiously. So
appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't mention that. I think the whole point of this was these. I didn't look up the city block plan, but I believe all 4 of those are basically on one.
They are.
Obviously, they're massive.
They're
one
really
city
all
block in Las Vegas.
I would say everything's within like a quarter mile or a mile of each other.
So I think the point of those 4 plus the convention center was that the players and their families, all these people would go there and basically would not be allowed to leave that city block. And this obviously has hotels, restaurants, spas. They even said gambling was fine. The casinos would be open for all these people. It really is kind of a resort where once you go there, you might not even want to leave there.
And I've been to Vegas. You've been to Vegas.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Nope.
You can go to your hotel and you don't need to leave.
Right. I stayed at the MGM Grand.
That's where I stayed.
We could have spent the whole – we were there for like 4 days. We could have spent the whole time at the MGM Grand.
And eat at a different restaurant, drink at a different bar every night right in the MGM.
Yes. Yep. And there's plenty of ATMs to support that.
You said the MGM proposed that, Russ?
I don't remember the exact name. It was like the MGM something or other group that owns.
MGM is like a company that owns multiple hotels.
Yeah. They've been losing a ton of money. So
yeah.
Who isn't in Vegas right now?
Well, right.
I mean, Vegas is 95% of the business out there is tourism. So that was mentioned in this article.
Hotels,
obviously,
casinos, and restaurants. That is Vegas.
Tourism is not going on there. So if they could bring this in, that would help rejuvenate the economy there a little bit.
Yeah. I'm curious what the players would think about that. So I'm guessing some of the travel is part of the experience, right? I'm guessing they want to play, but
it is, but if I'm in their shoes, I've also got no problem going and living in a Las Vegas hotel casino for a month or 2.
Especially when your paycheck's getting chopped right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much trouble do some of these guys get in, I wonder?
I think it'd be less than you think because
they got to stay
the
there.
city of Las Vegas is not really open. And,
right, yeah.
And they would be required to stay here. I don't think that'd be as big of a problem as, like, let's say Dennis Rodman going to Las Vegas in the middle of the season
for 84 hours.
So I don't know. I know that was pitched by the MGM Group. I don't know how realistic it is, but in my research, it was the one that popped out as kind of most interesting to me.
I'm curious how things are going to change as far as plans. Sounds like the NFL is releasing their schedule Thursday night, 8:00. They also
did you see that?
Just before we got here.
The other news potentially with the NFL? I don't know how this helps. They said there's potential that the NFL will ban alcohol sales in the stadiums.
I don't. Some of these restrictions, I don't understand how it has anything to do with helping situations.
They said the reason was there'd be less crowded at the beer stand and less people trying to take a piss, but everybody's sitting next to each other in the stadium. So how does that change anything? I don't understand the point of it, but it was something.
That doesn't make sense.
I think it was Peter King that brought it up. But
I listened to him today on McAfee show. That guy is dumber than a football bat.
Oh, I can't stand him, but
he's a absolute moron. He was just, I don't want to get down this rabbit hole, but he's talking about how they should sign this player in the NFL because what if this player gets COVID in week 19 and he has to be quarantined? He's like, shut up. Like, where did you come with this off the wall? Like, that's your theory? If the dog didn't stop to take a shit, he wouldn't have caught the rabbit, okay? Are we going to live our life with if? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And
scrape his ass.
That's right.
And with the MLB, I didn't think that the Arizona deal would ever work out just because it's so hot. I don't know how they would have played games in the middle of summer there.
Diamondbacks do it all year round.
That's true.
Well, right, but that's one stadium. How are they going to house 30 teams playing that? I don't know how they would have. Well, how are they going to play so many games in a short span with only one? Right, that's the only covered stadium out there.
Oh well, yeah, but
right.
They got other stadiums. They're just going to play it.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
either that or the MLB starts to fold.
Yeah, the whole plan had at least those 11 ballparks.
You got to keep in mind too that the more I realize, I mean, today's Monday, but I've already realized this. We live in New York State. Everybody else has gotten to the point where like, screw it.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it. Texas has done it. There's a few other states already doing it. They're opening back up. They got it. I mean, they're just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to be homeless.
Yeah.
I got employees that are, counting on me. They're going to be homeless. They can't pay their bills. And, so I think you're going to start to see that too. I mean, as big as all of these sports organizations are, the NBA, the NHL, all of them, they're all hurting for money. Like we were talking about, I didn't realize this. Someone brought it up to you and I is, ticket sales. I mean, most sports probably make more money on TV views and advertising for their sport. But you and I didn't realize this. Maybe you did. Maybe I'm just playing. I'm just dumb and naive, but
could be.
Ticket sales are shared as part of like the luxury tax or profit sharing throughout the league in the NFL.
Right.
But what isn't is luxury boxes that go straight into the owner's pocket and the team's pocket. So the teams are going to lose a boatload of money because all those, they pay unbelievable amounts for those. Most of them are owned by corporations that just pay the fee and they own the box.
One, when you think about, it just clicked in my head, but if you go, say the NBA did this, quarantine village in Las Vegas, or the or Major League Baseball went to Arizona. Now each team now has how many hundreds or thousands of employees that work in their stadium, concessions, ticket sales, merchandise shops that are no longer working. I mean, that sucks.
Well, you think about it too. In some of these cities, it's like college towns. Mm-hmm. Some of these cities, the amount of people they employ for these sporting teams, is probably huge to their economy. The people that work for them, some of these people have worked. You see stories. They worked 40 years as an usher in the same section in a baseball stadium. Yeah. And what about that guy? That's how he feeds his family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even if they went to, obviously getting into the fall with football, if they said, hey, no fans, think about how many people behind the scenes, just operations wise, to make everything happen every week for NFL or NCAA football games, whatever that is. There's a lot of people that, are you going to play stuff on the Jumbotron with no fans there? I don't know. You may play a replay or something so the
can't afford to
can see it, but
electric bill will get high. Can't afford it.
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do.
I think you're going to start. I mean, we're like 7-8 weeks right now. Uh-huh. I think you're going to start seeing people are like, not doing it, man. Yeah. Someone's going to, just like when sports shut down, someone's going to pull the trigger and say, we're doing it. And then the rest of the sports will follow suit. Yeah. You might see after this weekend with the UFC.
Yeah.
They're going to find out how much money the UFC made. I mean, look at the NFL draft. It was the most viewed draft ever, and it was remote.
Right.
Because there's nothing else going on. Yeah. You know how much money Dana White's going to make this weekend on pay-per-view buys? Are you kidding me?
None. It's free on ESPN.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what I read.
Not on pay-per-view.
Oh, boy. So, still going to make money.
Yeah. I mean, you can still track the viewership.
It might be even the most viewed UFC card in the last 10 years.
Yeah. I shouldn't say if he's smart because he's a genius business-wise, but if he was smart, it probably would be on pay-per-view for that reason you just mentioned.
My favorite Dana White story is the fact that he owns a pool in a community in Vegas. He's not allowed to have a pool, but he just pays the fine every month.
I like that.
So,
the one more research in the NHL. So
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So I didn't really get in. They haven't really laid out a solid plan for how they're returning yet. They also seem the most willing to let this current season go into the fall and start next season later, much, much later than usual.
Like December, right?
Yeah. So they've talked about like if they had to do a training camp in late November and start around the new year, they're okay with that. So we might almost see a permanent shift in the NHL schedule as far as the calendar year goes. So I don't have a solid plan for what they're thinking about, but the one bit of news that came out of the NHL today, they had the, not ownership meetings because they include GMs. I forget the term, but they had a meeting at 3:00 today with the commissioner to talk about the draft. So typically the NHL season, the Stanley Cup's usually awarded like early June.
Yeah.
late May, early June. And then the draft is always like the last weekend of June, which is based on season standings. And then they have a lottery system that's been in place for non-playoff teams since 2012 when they had their last lockout. Sounds like this is going to be interesting. Sounds like the NHL is strongly considering still holding the draft in the end of June. So you would have a draft occurring before the completion of a season.
Will they do everybody in the lottery, or as the standings are?
So they're going to go, I believe they're going to take the current, not the traditional standings. It'll be standings based on percentage of points gained, because you have teams that have played different number of games.
Yep.
And you can earn 2 points for a win, 3 points for a regulation win, 1 point for a regular or overtime loss, 3 points for an overtime win, excuse me. So based on the number of games, they would just go, how many points could you have earned? How many points have you earned? And do the standings that way. Come up with your playoff teams. And then all non-playoff teams would go into the lottery. However, the current lottery system, if you're not in the playoffs, so let's say you're in 12th worst position, you could, in theory, win the lottery and have the first overall pick.
Kind of like the NBA.
Right.
Okay.
Prior to 2012, and this sounds like what they're going to do. Prior to 2012, if you won the lottery, you could move up no more than 4 places. So if you were, again, in that same position, you were supposed to draft 12th overall, you won the lottery, you would move up to 8th.
Okay.
So sounds like that's what they're leaning towards. The other thought was, so the last lockout that canceled the season was prior to 2004. That was Crosby's year. So the year Sidney Crosby was drafted. So that year prior, there was no season. So they did throw all the teams into the lottery, and anybody could win.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
So that's why the Penguins the year prior didn't have a horrible season. I don't know if they made the playoffs, but they weren't horrible. They won the lottery to get Crosby, even though they shouldn't have had the first overall pick. So that was the big thing coming out of that lockout was who's going to win the Sidney Crosby sweepstakes,
right? Because
it wasn't based on standings.
Was there a cold envelope like the Patrick Ewing draft for the Knicks?
Probably, yeah.
You ever heard that story?
No.
They put the envelope.
No. Oh,
they
really?
claimed the draft was rigged. They put the envelope in a freezer and it was cold. So when the guy reached in, he knew which one was the Knicks and he pulled it out so that he would go to New York.
Wow. No. So sounds like the NHL is going to make a couple announcements this week, one of which was going to be about the draft. And then I think they're going to start to hint towards how they're going to return. But that's going to be real interesting to me if you have a draft prior to the completion of a season.
That'd be weird
because it's typically based on standings.
Yeah, and I think all these sports are going to have to, right? I don't think the NBA is going to wait till November next year to have their draft. I assume they'll try to have it like normal in July or whenever they have
it. Yeah, probably live stream the draft. By the way, see you there. So the other thing I heard was NHL players. There was a ton of them that said, we're ready to go. Let's do this. Let's just play.
Yeah.
Like whatever we got to do, like we'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like they were ready to play on pond somewhere. I mean,
so this just popped into my head again too. This was more so pertaining to Major League Baseball, not the NHL, but the NHL also has a ton of foreign players. We see the NBA. I think that's very. Stop listening to me, Siri. Wow, that's creepy.
Big Brother's listening to Russ.
I don't know what the percentage.
She wants to know what's up.
Percentage of international players are in the NBA, but it's got to be substantially lower than the NHL and Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So they're saying baseball specifically, if they're trying to get going soon, that could be a major hurdle is getting their international players back into the country.
Right.
Well,
and didn't they tell? I thought they told NHL. I thought I saw something. They told NHL players like 2 weeks ago that were overseas. Hey, start trying to come back if you can.
Yeah, they may have. I don't know exactly, but there's got to be some hurdles with that right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't – obviously the NHL said, yeah, go, you can go home if you want. Just knowing when they sent them back, knowing that there was who knows if you were going to get back at all. I don't know why you would have went over. And obviously, if your family's over there, I understand. But at the same time, you may not get back this season. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you could restart the season if each team was missing 10% of their active roster either. Though.
That's what I was thinking. I assume, obviously, Canada, U.S. I mean, yeah, it's got to be what probably about five to six players a team average that aren't U.S. or Canadian. I would guess.
Yeah,
it's got to be a bigger problem in the NHL. Though. I mean, a lot of these guys far more than
I mean, there's a lot of Russian players, Sweden. Yeah, there's Finland,
even Canada.
Yeah. At least that, you run into the same maybe visa issues, but at least you could drive your car from Canada. I don't even know trying to get on an airplane these days how doable that is, especially an international flight.
I don't. Tony Ferguson was on a flight today, headed to wherever to fight.
I saw one. They I went to the doctor today, and they were like, "Have you been out of the country in the last month?" I was like, "How would I get out of the country? I assume I can't go anywhere."
Yeah, it's same thing. I called to get in the chiropractor today, and
yeah.
Have you been exposing anybody with COVID in the last 2 weeks? I said I've been in my house for the last 7. All right, sir. We'll see you tonight. That's all I have. I'm pumped. I want sports to come back. But NASCAR
May 17th.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's happening. That is happening.
At least NASCAR, the first two that we have confirmed, NASCAR and the PGA Tour that you mentioned, May 7th, May 17th, and then June 11th for the PGA. Those are the two sports that I think are least impacted by being in front of no fans.
Yeah.
I thought the PGA Tour should have came back a long time ago, if not would shut down at all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You're outside.
Without fans. Yeah.
You're outside.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, even if they went full-blown no fans and didn't affect the schedule at all, I don't think it would have had it.
Right.
I think they would have been fine.
Yeah.
So, playing in front of an NHL arena that's empty, I'm sure it's the same for all sports, basketball, football, but we've gone to a lot of hockey games. I've probably gone to 100, 150 games up in Buffalo, and the thought of playing in that arena with 0 fans without the atmosphere, it's got to be so weird. Yeah.
Echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying the echo off. Just think about like a baseball. The sound of that, if no one's in that stadium, what that sounds like, it'll just be weird. Didn't the Orioles played a game without fans a couple of years ago, right? When the shootings were happening down there, I think.
Yeah.
And the fans said, or the players said, it was just weird because you could just hear everything.
Yeah. I think, sorry, Dad, for this comment because he's a big Orioles fan, but I'm pretty sure they played a lot of games in front of empty stadiums the last couple.
Yeah,
of years.
Ross. I think there actually was supposed to be fans there, and none of them showed up.
Going to same thing with the Marlins, right? Down in Florida.
Yeah, right, yeah.
They played some games in front of hundreds of fans, not thousands.
Yeah. One year the Rays made the playoffs. They gave away playoff tickets.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about football, and then let's talk about Jordan. But first, the Ginger Tarzan got signed, Andy Dalton.
Who did?
He's gone his way to Dallas.
That was breaking news while we were on Zoom with Marcus and his band of friends the other day.
1 year, $7 million, $3 million guaranteed.
Yeah. So
not a complete surprise. He currently lives in Dallas, and he's from that area. Went to TCU.
Yeah.
But yeah, carry on.
I was going to say, you and I were again on a Zoom call when I read that, and I read it to you, and I think our reaction was the same. With even though Dallas has a ton of money, Jerry Jones and whatnot, those are not numbers you sign a backup quarterback.
Yeah, that was your quote. Was this money doesn't scream backup?
Right. Yeah.
It's either you're going to play or you're going to force Dak to make a decision.
Yeah. I mean, I know.
Are they expecting Dak to hold out?
I'd say so. Yeah.
So Dallas can pull that franchise tag off the table in July. I think July 15th is the deadline. They can pull that, rescind that.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I know it feels like forever ago, whatever, episode 2 or 3, we talked about Dak and how, a rumor was he wanted like $40 million. And I don't know what the realistic number is he's asking for currently, but
it's right around there, 38 to 40.
He's seriously asking for that still?
I think that's what it's right around there. Franchise tag's 33.
Oh, that's insane.
So he's playing hardball over a couple $1 million.
Yeah. How do you that takes a set of balls to not sign a franchise tag for.
I get it for like
million.
if they're saying, "Hey, we'll give you 500,000," you're like, "No, I want 2 more million."
Right.
But when you're going to make 33 million, guaranteed, you're like,
That's
I need
great.
2 more.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, knowing that he's asking for close to, we'll just say 40. He's asking for 40. They just signed Andy Dalton for 7
for 1 year.
For 1 year, the Cowboys have got to be very confident going at least one season with Andy Dalton as their quarterback.
So
they're probably saying, "Okay, Dak, you want to hold out over $7 million, the difference between 40 and 33, then go ahead and do it.
We'll take your 7 million, pay another quarterback."
Yeah, exactly. I just, like I said, those are not backup quarterback numbers. Dallas is thinking there's a good chance Andy Dalton's going to be their starter. My opinion.
So I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Yeah,
by any means.
I definitely am not.
Bills fan. So Jordan Poyer. So I did some research today on Dak because I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I don't hate them. I don't have any particular reason to hate them.
Yeah.
So I looked up some information because I always said Dak's he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to do Brady stuff.
Yep.
He's not Manning. Yep. But if Dak Prescott was a free agent tomorrow, he'd be signed quicker than Cam Newton.
So just quick interjection and I'll let you get back. Yeah. My little rant there was nothing against Dak. I think he's a good, solid quarterback. It's 100% against the fact that he's asking for $40 million.
Right. And I don't know what it is about everybody that says Dak sucks. We were playing golf the other day and Ricky's like, Dak's terrible. I'm like, come on, dude. No, he's not. Right. Okay. Dallas is the number 1 ranked offense in the league last year. You don't do that with a shitty quarterback. You just don't. It's impossible to do. So first, here's my first stab and throw you guys. I'm going to tell you the quarterbacks that were drafted the same year as Dak prior to him. Okay. There was 8 quarterbacks. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, and then it gets frisky.
Frisky, huh?
Paxton Lynch, Christian Hackenberg, who got drafted by the Jets, who the Jets have now signed another quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, Cody Kessler, and Connor Cook, who was signed by the Raiders, drafted by the Raiders, but is now the Raiders obviously don't need him. They got 2 starters. Yeah. So those are 8 quarterbacks.
They got 2 backups.
Yeah. Connor, you're starting. I'm letting you know now. So then I looked into Dak's stats he's been in the league 4 years now. He hasn't missed a game. He's 64 games played. He's got 40-24 record. His worst year was last year. They went 8-8. He's 66% completion. He has 97 throwing touchdowns, 36 interceptions, 15,778 yards. He also has around 1,200 yards rushing, 21 touchdowns rushing, and that makes a total of like 118 total touchdowns. First 4 years in the league because he's been in the league 4 years.
Okay. So 64 games, and he's accounted for almost 120 touchdowns.
Yep. Yeah. So you need some comparison because I did that too.
Sure, bring it on.
All right. So
he's buzzing.
He's still watching porn. I'll read off these stats for you.
Staring at the top of that head this episode.
I'm trying to look up Mississippi State record. Dak was
fact checking you.
Yeah, I don't care.
No fact checks.
Tom Brady in his first 4 years, he didn't really play in his first year, so his first full 4 years.
Starter.
Yep. 13,919 yards. He threw for 52 interceptions as opposed to Dak's 36, and had 69 total touchdowns. His first 4 years. Cam Newton's first 4 years threw for 14,951 yards, 54 interceptions, 33 rushing touchdowns, 82 passing touchdowns for 115 touchdowns.
Okay.
Dak's numbers compared to just those 2 guys are, and not granted, Dak doesn't have the resume that Brady does. He hasn't been in the league longer. Brady's clearly successful. He's got rings.
Yep.
The point of that, the comparison was just to give me an idea of his numbers with some others who are that good or were great their first 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think Dallas needs to give him a chance. Dallas had the 9th ranked defense in the league last year, which is a lot higher than I anticipated because I felt like having the number 1 offense, Dallas just did not close out games last year. They should have won. Also contributed to really poor coaching. They have a new coach. So why don't we give Dak a chance with a new coach to see what he does? Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about it the other day. I mean, if Dak were a free agent right now, you'd have at least 24 teams that were strongly evaluating their quarterback situation and whether or not they thought Dak was better than what they have.
Correct.
So
the only team that doesn't want a quarterback right now is Jacksonville because I think they're tanking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have that. So the rumor I heard was if Andy Dalton doesn't sign by the end of the week with Jacksonville, they're guaranteed to be tanking because the reason he got drafted by Cincinnati was because of Jay Gruden, who I believe is now in Jacksonville. So they said the fit was there. Jay Gruden loves the guy. He's a free agent. They released him. And Jacksonville has showed zero interest in Cam, who's still out there.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky just got released.
Yeah.
So he's out there now. They said he was actually hurt last year. I heard that. But he played through it. So,
assuming Cam is healthy, which I believe he is.
He's been posting videos. He looks great. He said he's in the best shape.
If you have a team like Jacksonville that's not putting in serious consideration for Cam, depending on what money he's looking for, you have to automatically assume they're just trying to tank.
Right. And the other assumption with Dalton is lives in Dallas, went to TCU. I'm going to collect a few $1 million. I'm going to hang out here. The quarterback market right now is kind of flooded. I'm going to let it sort itself out. I'll figure it out next year.
No state income tax, right, Russ?
In Texas?
That's right.
I don't know about Texas. I know in Florida.
Yeah, definitely Florida. I wouldn't have known about Texas.
Yeah, I don't know about Texas.
Texas is as well.
Oh. You get a free Longhorn steer when you sign there?
You just get a whole herd of cattle and a fence.
Okay.
Also a cowboy hat.
That's fair enough.
Actually, you get a choice: cowboy hat or boots.
You got to go with that.
Or buckle. What if you want that buckle?
It's true too.
So Dalton signed for $7 million, 3 guaranteed. Does that guaranteed only kick in if like they signed Dak and then decided to cut Dalton?
I have no idea. That 7's got to include, or the other $4 million's got to be incentives if he plays.
Yeah, that's true. When I think of guaranteed money, I think of guys that sign longer term deals, and it's kind of like injury protection. So I find it interesting to see that big of a difference on a 1-year deal. But yeah, I guess it could be incentive based.
I'm guessing some of that's if you play 9-10 games, whatever that is throughout the season. So I did look up. 23 teams pay their backup quarterback less than $2 million.
Right. So that confirms my instincts.
It's not
Andy
backup.
Dalton was not signed to backup numbers. So
you try and take Robbie's job.
Trying.
You gotta get Robbie.
By the way, so he's got what are you drinking right now?
Diet Mountain Dew.
So he had a beer. Then I think he had like a DP or a Coke. And now he's got a Diet Mountain Dew.
I was gonna say I know him well enough to know there's 5 drinks within reach.
I got 3. I should have grabbed another beer. It went down too quick.
Good.
Well, I got more here if you'd show up to the podcast in house.
Blue Light, if you want to send some beer, I'll take some.
You can have my orange.
You could easily be to your refrigerator and back in 12 seconds.
That's true. I could.
Probably in your mini fridge, it's 7 feet away. So, would you rather have if you're the Cowboys, if you're Mike McCarthy, their new coach? Well, I guess he probably doesn't give a shit about money, but
no, he doesn't.
Would you rather have Andy Dalton starting for you for $7 million or Dak for 35?
Dalton.
Dak.
If you care about money.
Well, yeah, if you care about money.
Assuming you care about the money.
Then probably Dalton.
I mean, say you're Jerry Jones, right? You want the ring, but you also have got to consider the budget.
Dude, he did the draft from his yacht. I don't think he's worried about money.
Touche.
Well, or is he? Because Dak's not signed.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, in a small defense of Dax, I don't want to say small, but his brother did die. So they say it might be holding up him responding to some of this, but.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, but.
It could have been resolved before that.
We've been talking about this issue for like 3 or 4 months now.
Could have been resolved prior to this, prior to his brother and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue, right, is, and I think we went through this in episode 2 or 3, whatever we talked about it, was what he wants top quarterback money in the league, and he's not he's probably not top 5 in the league for sure. He fits in very well with that system. He's got a great offensive line.
So did Brady.
Weapons.
Fit in well with his
Well,
system.
That's half the battle, though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got to fit in the system. But if Jerry says, "Hey, you're the 8th best quarterback in the NFL, and I'm going to give you 25," because I assume if he asked for 25, he's signed already.
Yeah, but he can make 33 if he just signs the franchise tag.
Well, that's true. But it's 1 year, right? He's risking getting hurt and then not signing in free agency.
My guess is, though, if Jerry Jones loved Jason Garrett, he's got the biggest heart on in the world for Dak Prescott. Because Garrett he was not a good coach. I mean, he had great players, great talent. You went 8-8 last year with that lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the number 1 offense.
Right.
And you're not closing out games.
Yeah.
I mean, at that level, when you get to that level in professional sports, it's coaching.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of teams that said, we're going to fire the coach. I've never been, they just blame the coach, especially in like baseball. Because at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want in baseball. If that guy get up there and can't hit a fastball or a curveball, how's that your fault as a coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can only put them in the right position to be successful. If they can't do that, that's on them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to football, there comes, clock manager, stuff like that. To me, it's a little bit different. And if you can't win with that lineup he had, it's coaching. And it was just, they needed a change. And I think part of the change needed was he just wasn't getting a response from the players. It got stale. They just didn't have a lot of faith in him. You got to bring in something new.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, most teams would kill to have that. When you think about the 3-headed monster of Dak, Zeke Elliott, and Amari Cooper, I mean, when you look at the average of however you want to rank them at their position throughout the league, most teams would love to start their team with those 3 players.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think about if he was out there available. Okay, I'm going to take Miami. Yeah, you just drafted Tua. Doesn't mean you have to play him. What if Dak Prescott openly says, I want to play in Miami?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're all Bills fans. If Dak was a free agent and said, hey, I'd love to go to Buffalo, you got to at least evaluate it.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, like you said, there's only got to be a handful of teams that wouldn't evaluate it.
Right.
And even, obviously, what Kyle mentioned with Goff and Wentz, those 2 teams would certainly take him in a heartbeat.
I mean, yeah. Goff he lived up to the hype for about a year, and then he fell on his ass when he got, the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then you have Wentz. I'm not sold on Wentz. I don't understand why people still hold him on his pedestal. The guy had 1 good year, got hurt, and your backup won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And your backup hasn't done a damn thing since, and he's currently sitting in Chicago, assuming he's going to start.
I mean, we talked about potential using special packages, but I don't think Philly's sold on him either. They wouldn't have drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's injury prone.
Yeah.
Bottom line. He is.
Yep.
He's that close to being Andrew Luck. I don't know.
I mean, it's tough for us to understand, the 3 of us sitting here when you got a franchise tag in front of you for $33 million, how you can turn that down. But
I'm signing it.
Yeah.
I am. I mean, and there's value in that. The franchise tag needs to be reevaluated. I don't think they should be able to use it on the same player multiple years.
Yeah. I don't like that whole process at all.
Right. But if it's my option, out of just a business sense and being a player, I'm signing it. Just because I'm looking like, hey, he's easy to work with on a business side. I mean, at that level, it's a business. So when your days are up in Dallas and you move on,
yeah. If you sign a franchise tag, let's say Dak signed that 1 year, $33 million, then you're a free agent next year. Is there a minimum a team can sign you based on that franchise tag number?
I think it's just whatever the franchise tag value is for the position, isn't it?
Yeah. The franchise tag has nothing to do with what you can sign for later on.
Okay. So if he signed that $33 million, had a bad year, went to free agency, somebody could still sign him for 3 years, $10 million per.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and that's go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if that happened and you had a shitty year, worst case, you still might make $60 million over the next 4 years.
Isn't the franchise tag guaranteed money?
I don't know about that.
I thought it was guaranteed because if you were franchise tag, that was part of like the trade off. It was guaranteed money.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
And
It makes
to
sense.
me, yeah, and my mindset is if a guy signs that franchise tag, that tells me he's probably got a chip on his shoulder. Like, hey, they don't trust me. I'm going to go out and prove it again one more year that I've got it. And
Right.
does Dak think he now he just looks like he's entitled to that money, and he's not going to try to earn it. You know, if
Right.
they offered you $33 million, sign it and prove to them that they should have signed you long term last year.
And if they don't, prove yourself to go someplace else. You're
Correct.
playing for your job.
Yeah,
Yep.
if you're specifically in this case, if you're Dak, you sign the franchise tag, $33 million, and then you go out and have a 14-2 season, and after that they still refuse to sign you for 40, then hey, I'll see you later.
I would look at it as if you're unhappy with it, they franchise tagged you for that much, I'd still sign it. Like you said, go out and try to prove it. And then at the end of the year, you hold the leverage.
Yeah.
You hold all leverage in the world. Either that Dallas could re-sign him, or you could say, you know what? I got these guys over here talking to me. They offered me this, and you've got total control of the negotiations.
And he just got another weapon on offense in the draft with Lamb. So I don't know how you – I mean –
Yeah, like we said, none of us are Cowboys fans, but I don't know how you wouldn't want to go be the quarterback for that offense. I really don't.
Especially just endorsements. You're one of the big – I mean, you're literally the biggest market in football probably.
Yeah, probably in sports, arguably. I mean –
I'd sign it. That's just me. All right, let's move on to Jordan, man.
Episodes 5 and 6 last night.
Did you guys get your Adidas Jordans or your Converse Jordans?
So I did not. So I don't own a single pair of Jordans. I think most of them are friggin' ugly, if I'm being honest with you. But
you didn't like my shoes?
After I don't recall exactly which ones yours were. After that episode, I did search some original Air Jordan 1s. There's some pretty sweet colorways on those. They got like a light graphite gray one that looks pretty sick.
They have remade and the retros at this point. And I can attest to that because I wore a set of the retros in high school for basketball.
Were your feet bleeding too?
No, they were not. I didn't wear the ones. But I couldn't believe, like, okay. Converse is not regretting it because I think Jordan made the savage move, and I just picture him in the background with Phil Knight, like, hey, Phil, remember those assholes that didn't sign us? Let's buy them. Because Nike owns Converse now.
Okay.
Right.
So, yeah, that kind of panned out for – I mean, Converse wasn't a big company. But the Adidas thing where he was like, he wanted to be with Adidas. Yeah. And they're just like, yeah, we just, we don't want you.
Yeah.
And then Nike, they said Nike offered him, what'd they say, like $250,000.
$250, yeah.
And a normal contract at that time for shoe deal was like $100,000.
Yeah.
And then they were hoping to sell, was it 3 million shoes?
3 million in 4 years.
They sold 120 million or something like that in the first year.
First year.
Yeah.
That's. And I read today that last Q4 of 2019, the Jordan brand had their first $1 billion quarter sales.
I mean, think about how much I was one to buy them, but the Jordan golf shoes, they were these good golf shoes last year, right? And now they've got, I don't know, 7 or 8 different pairs already.
Yeah, they've kind of signed Harold Varner as kind of the face of Jordan golf.
Yep. Keegan Bradley's been wearing them for a while, I think, too.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up the percentage. I can't see it. But the thing they didn't talk about, which I'm sure you guys are aware, but at some point when he signed, he being Michael Jordan, signed that contract with Nike, most players would sign a deal that's like 10 years, you're going to pay me this much in those 10 years of your or percentage of your sales. He set that up. He or his agent set it up so that he got a certain percentage of sales on Jordan apparel or the lifetime of Jordan apparel.
Right. Yeah. And that was,
he's even till today when he's got nothing to do with it anymore. He's not playing. Say they sell $1 billion with a B, $1 billion worth of Jordan apparel. Michael Jordan is still getting like 10% of that or something.
He's worth $2 billion.
Yeah.
He's probably got $1 billion in his bank account.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, well, right, and that was one of his agent's requirements, right? Adidas didn't want to give him a shoe line.
They didn't.
So he
How
said,
they work out for him in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. How much different would shoes be now if I don't know if it would be or not, but how much different would it be if Jordan signs with Adidas?
Converse weapons. You kid. We got Bird Magic. We don't need you. All right, I'm going to sell $1 billion worth of shoes.
Yeah. So speaking of those two, how was that trash talking during the Olympic practice between the three of them?
So I've heard the story before, and I think I might have watched a video in the past about this particular practice, how Jordan and Magic were just go neck and neck. And the rumor was there was some, I read it, I think if I remember this correctly, I read it as there was some issues with the fact of they didn't think they were playing as well as they should have been. And then they got in the gym that day and they shut the media out.
Yeah.
Shut the doors and said, you know, they played that day and somebody got it on camera and thank God they did.
Yeah.
And that's how the story goes of we shouldn't have pissed off Jordan in that practice. And then I heard a story today where they asked Brooks Koepka, have you ever played golf with Jordan? And he said, yeah, I played with him a few times, but I was playing with him one time. I had him one down going into 17. And he said, we've been jawing all day. And he said, I finally said to him on 17, we had like a 40-yard walk to the tee. He said, I looked at him and said, I got you right where I want you. And he says, no, you don't. It's the fourth quarter. I never lose. He goes, 18 and 18.
That's awesome.
But the big thing, they did do Dream Team. And we talked about this last week. And I called out Max Kellerman, who you're a douchebag, Kellerman. I called out Kellerman that day. He said there was never a conversation with Jordan about Isaiah Thomas playing on that team with the IOC or whoever the director was. Okay. There was. Maybe the word Isaiah Thomas didn't leave Jordan's mouth, but they knew exactly who he was. When he said who's playing, they knew exactly who he was talking about. And if you don't think Jordan was the reason that Thomas didn't make that team,
right,
you're higher than two hippies in a helicopter because he is the reason. And Kellerman's theory was, well, Stockton was a better player. Again, smoking some hashish because you're an idiot. Stockton was a great player. Don't get me wrong. Thomas was a better player.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was 100% the reason that guy was not on that team. And he still hates that guy to this day. I love it. I absolutely love it.
And hey, I got to go to the star of those episodes last night. Well, one of the episodes, John Michael Wozniak, the security guard, playing quarters.
By the way, he died in January, I read.
Yeah, he did. I did see that. Give him the shrug.
He did. So apparently the guy was he was a cop in Chicago. Jordan was friends with a couple of cops, and they kind of when he started getting big, needed a security team. So this guy just didn't work United Center work security. He was Jordan's security. He traveled with him everywhere, out of state, out of the country. He would go with him with his family vacations. He's like, I've been to Paris with him. The guy died back in January, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that I watched that clip probably like 5 or 6 times again today, just laughing at it because it's so funny. But I don't know if it's the blonde mullet. That, I don't know.
I thought he was a judge at first. He had that. Yeah, really. Oh, that's real hair.
Jordan earned $145 million in 2019, thanks to the Jordan brand. That number first topped $100 million in 2015 and has only gone up since then. So he's made over $500 million in the last 5 years off the Jordan brand.
And he made another $250 million gambling on a golf course.
Yeah.
That shows how much Nike's making off the Jordan brand.
Right.
This is I wish I could find the percentage. I'm guessing that's only 10 or 20% of the actual sales.
That's all I'm guessing that percentage is gone because I'm guessing when he initially signed it was probably 2 or 3%. Right. Probably less than 5% initially. It's probably gone up since then. Obviously, you can negotiate that with how much it is.
Yeah.
The picture of him standing under the billboard, like looking up.
Yeah.
Of him.
Yeah.
That's got to be a weird feeling.
But I can only imagine like just the mobs of people. And it literally showed him on the elevator. The elevator, ding. He steps off, and there's just you just went from being alone to like hundreds of people. Just everybody wants a piece of you and wants to talk to you.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people argue that you signed up for that kind of stuff. Not to that extent.
There's people that take it too far.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, just going from the elevator in the hotel to your bus, which was probably a 200 to 300 foot walk, and there were 500 people there.
Yeah.
It's one thing if an athlete's like at a grocery store, and 3 people come up and ask him for an autograph. To me, that falls in the category of you signed up for that. But to have to, you can't even walk from your hotel room to the bus without, you can't walk 5 feet without bumping into somebody. Like that's just absurd.
Well, even that clip they showed of them in the training room drinking beers after the game, and then he's like, "Oh, I gotta go do media." He could barely get out of the door.
Yeah,
because they were like pushing the door in.
Yeah, that's
how much Miller Lite's getting sold today.
Oh, I know.
I
wish we had some. I wish we had some of those cans though.
I bet you. Well, I mean, talking about the Jordan brand, it'll be interesting to see their numbers this year in 2020
because of this.
Yeah,
documentary.
I agree.
I admit, like I said, I don't own a single pair, never have, and I'm even considering buying a pair if I could find those gray ones.
Speaking of cans, we talked about this a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
At one point, they showed Jordan on a Gatorade commercial, and I looked at Allie and I said, "Do you remember Gatorade in a glass jar?"
Right.
They showed Barkley drinking out of it at least 2 or 3 times in the documentary last night. Charles Barkley.
She's like, "No, when did they do that?" And she looked up. It was like 1998. They started making plastic bottles.
Yeah, like you say, back then it was like a fat Snapple bottle. Basically.
Yeah.
But back to your what could possibly be with sales. I got a text last night from DeRicci. He sends me a link and it says, "I think you need one for the baby." I click on the link. It was a signed Jordan jersey from the Hall of Fame, the year he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. I think it was 2009.
Okay.
It was signed. Then it said, and he put on there HOF. There was 123 jerseys. They were white. So it was signed HOF, and then they were numbered. So I think the one that was for selling, it was like number 84 out of 123, or 39 out of 123. So I click on the link, $20,000 for the jersey, $20,000 for the jersey, and they had a pair of shorts signed by him. They wanted $10,000 for it. The next text I get from DeRicci, it's 2 pictures. It's one of his wall and a list of papers on a table. Gary has number 1. Gary has 84 of 123. I said, "You did not spend that much on it." He goes, "I didn't." He paid $1,200 for his. They're now $20,000.
Jeez.
But he had all the certificates of authenticity and stuff. And he was showing them to me. Yep. He also on his wall had Jeter and Bird signed in frames. But that just goes to show you. I mean, right there, he probably bought that a few years ago, and now that same collection of 123 jerseys that he signed, $20,000.
Yeah, and how much higher is that? How much higher is that going to go? Yeah, after this, like Russ just said.
Oh yeah, you got to get a pair of those.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, those are. I really like those, Russ.
So yeah, I'm loving this documentary. He's savage. I love it.
Sucks. There's only 4 more episodes.
It does.
Already more than halfway through it.
A little eerie listening to Kobe last night talk.
I saw that people on Twitter were talking about that before the episodes aired last night. They're like, this might be a little bit. He wasn't in it as much as people were making it sound like. Right. Like, this might be a little.
It was a recent interview though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly recent. And it was interesting that. It was interesting to know that one of the last things might have been one of the last interviews Kobe ever did. He put a squash to the Jordan Kobe debate and said, "I wouldn't have won that many championships if it wasn't for Jordan."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was thinking about that last night, mainly with LeBron, because Kobe didn't wear 23. You think about people compare LeBron and Jordan, who's better? And it's like, well, LeBron wears 23 because of Jordan. Like, why can't you just, like you've said a couple times,
don't debate,
appreciate it all.
Yeah.
I mean, without Jordan, you might not have LeBron.
You're probably right. Would have LeBron even picked up a basketball?
Right. Exactly.
No, I'm loving the documentary. Just fantastic.
I heard Kobe had so obviously this footage is because Jordan allowed an all access camera crew on his last season. I heard Kobe did the same thing his final season.
He did.
So that would be, we may have already mentioned that. I don't know.
I don't know, but I did hear that.
It'd be pretty sweet sometime over the next, 5 years if they edited that and kind of released a similar one on Kobe.
Yeah, I agree.
So might be a little harder to watch since he's unfortunately passed away and you won't have interviews with him, but I love seeing this old footage.
This is fantastic. Yeah. Such a savage. And he said before the documentary came out, he's like, this is going to make us, it's going to make me look like an ass.
Right.
I don't think so.
I haven't.
Exact opposite for me.
I haven't thought that. And the gambling stuff in the second episode last night didn't change my view of it, but it almost makes me wonder as we get closer to the end of the 98 season and his decision to leave, is that what he's referring to? Because I agree with you. I've seen nothing in the first 6 episodes that make me think he's an asshole.
I think it's humanized him.
Yeah.
It's showing a side of Jordan most people didn't see.
Yeah.
And if you think he's an asshole, you should probably sign yourself up from sensitivity training. You've got some issues. So.
But hey, and how about it is weird watching Barkley move as quick as he did and thinking about the guy he is today. It's just him running up and down the court, dribbling through people, and then you look at him today, guy can't even move.
To me, the only bad guy in this thing is Jerry Krause. I mean, how can you make the decision to not re-sign Phil Jackson, knowing that you're giving up the best coach in the league at the time,
and Jordan's going to leave,
arguably ever, and that decision is going to force Michael Jordan to leave your team? I mean, they could have won 3 or 4 more in a row.
Dude, this guy, and he would just get straight hard-ons for other players. Like last night. Oh, you love Tony Kukoc.
Yeah.
And then they played Croatia. Poor guys, and he's coming from a war-torn country currently. Yep. And Pippen and Jordan just smothered him for entire game. Yep. And then they did it again and when they played the Suns.
Yeah. I can't remember the guy's name. The one that was supposed to be the elite defender.
Jordan's hold my beer, watch this.
Krause thinks he's the elite defender. I'm going right after him.
It was funny. He was smoking a cigar. You want one, Jerry? Yeah, I do. That stunts your growth.
Yeah, as much as they've bashed him, obviously he did put together 6 championships, right?
Oh,
so you got to give him a little credit, but at the same time, I don't know what.
I just don't know why. Yeah, I completely agree with that. But then why would he want to break it up when you've got a chance to win 2 or 3 more?
Right. It was almost like he wanted to be successful, but as soon as other people became the spotlight and not him, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You think about Phil Jackson. So after that season, Phil Jackson went to L.A. and won the next 3 with the Lakers. So Phil Jackson won 6 championships in a row. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. It was Dan Marley was the son.
Yes. Yes, it was Dan Marley. And I saw today that Horace Grant did an interview with PMT. He played with Shaq in Orlando.
Okay.
And he missed 3 calls from Shaq. Never called him back, and later found out Shaq signed with the Lakers. And he thinks that if he would have answered that call, Shaq would have stayed in Orlando. Because he's like, I would have begged him to stay.
Really?
Because I felt like all he needed was one of us to say, no, we want you to stay. And he didn't. Which, by the way, that was kind of when they were talking about Jordan and knocking him off his pedestal, as he said, because he's being successful. And that book came out, Jordan Rules, which I've read. I read it when I don't remember, I was younger. But they claim it was Horace Grant that released all this behind-the-scenes footage.
Right.
And then Horace Grant said, no, it wasn't me. And Will Perdue did confirm that Jordan punched him in the face in practice. But Will Perdue also said he wasn't the only person, and it wasn't the first time. There was other fights, and he's like, that was just our practice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm ready for next week already.
Yeah, I know.
I'd forgot it was coming on. Then something, I don't know, it was probably 6:00 last night.
You forgot what?
I forgot it was Sunday. Not that it was coming on.
After this episode, I'm not talking to him for 24 hours. Actually, 23 hours. Just to make you remember.
Yeah, I was just all of a sudden, I was like, oh shit, it's Sunday. So I got excited.
Yeah, no, that's been on my radar.
I would have watched all 10 episodes of one night.
Yeah.
If I could have.
Yep.
All right, boys. You got anything else?
I don't believe so.
So we are now on Spotify and we are now on iTunes.
We are.
So go ahead and subscribe. Go to iTunes, subscribe. If you can't watch us, listen to us.
Yep.
But in the meantime, that's all I've got. Anything?
Get ready for NASCAR next week, boys.
Oh, you're going, oh, man, I can't wait.
Yep.
All right, boys. Later.
See ya.
Hey, have a good one.